Hi, the following is emotional written response to my interrogation or arrest. That it is fictional, but the events that happened are not. Um, Come on, guys! I've been here for hours. I need a smoke and a drink. That's all bullshit. This stuff happened 40 years ago. I was just a kid, 22 years old, and I moved from Greendale, Wisconsin to Fresno, California, sight unseen. Pretty ballsy if I say so myself, being in a wheelchair and having cerebral palsy. There's a guy in the dorms, Timothy, he had cerebral palsy. I knew him too from Milwaukee, from when we were kids. They used to confuse us in the dorms. Didn't do much for my self-image. I miss family and friends back in Wisconsin. Met a kid from Florida in the dorms. He'd been busted for weed, 2 pounds, worked out a probation deal. We eventually got an apartment together, and I found out his sister got in trouble with the mob for ratting out people on accounting. Then about this time, I met a guy named Robot who was in his 50s, and I'll talk a little bit more about him later. But then we got this other roommates who, after we moved into a house, and they lived in the hills, and they made over 100 grand a year selling weed. But this was 40 years ago. And last I heard, I haven't heard from them in years. One of the guys became a engineer, and the other guy became an eye doctor. But anyway, this guy Robot that I met, he had a girlfriend, and she was like in her 30s, and she was like a slave, and she'd do whatever he wanted, and she was always high on cocaine. I inherited a little bit of money. He wanted me to take the money and go to the coast and make $16 million from bringing back weed, and I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to have to lie to my family and friends. Well, how'd you get all this money, John? Live a lie and act all the time. My family and friends have always been important to me. Don't get me wrong, I like money. I would have made my life a lot easier. But I didn't want to get it that way. Robot and I, we went to a Doobie's Brothers concert once in the coast, and he got in a fight with two bikers. And we got in the van, and we're drinking. He's drinking, and I'm stoned from weed, and we're driving over 100 miles an hour. Blew up the engine. About this time, my mother was coming out to look at houses. She met him. After he left, he said, "Your mom's nice, but she needs to go to bed with another man, but I'll leave her alone." I thought, damn right you'll leave her alone, because if you don't, I'd do whatever I could do, even if I ended up getting killed. That just made me sick and afraid. Then one night we were watching the news, and there's a body there, and I thought, I wonder if this guy ever hurt anybody or killed anybody. He looked at me and said, "Brother, all you have to do is ask for it." Well, you see, um, he knew that I was lonely and alone a lot of times. In his own way, he did try to care about me, and he did want me to have things. But yet, deep down, too, I had to realize, well, maybe when the money was gone, I would be gone too. But when I pushed him away, and he left me alone for a year, he cried. And I doubt that this guy ever cried much in his life before. In retrospect, I wonder if he was with the CIA, FBI, or if he was a mobster or organized crime. I was around a lot of people, and there was a lot of craziness. Where there's a lot of money, and if you're talking about drugs, there's a lot of craziness. So one day, I went in my backyard when I was living in Clovis, California. And I said, God, you know, I've made my own bed, but please don't let my friends that I know from my past or my parents or anybody in my family get hurt. I didn't know if my address book was looked into or anything or whatever. So I said, I made my bed. And what my decision is to try to love this person and other people I can, my own way. So I made music cassette tapes and whatnot and tried to be loving and understanding. I figured no matter what happened, I would try to live, love and die, and no matter what, I figured that was the best way to try to do things. Because I didn't want anybody hurt, and I wanted my mother to live the rest of her life the best she could. And so eventually this guy was killed a year later in San Francisco. I don't know if he found God or forgiveness or whatever. It's not my really concern or whatever. And the fact is that I don't feel guilty about my experience or anything like that. Don't go judging me, copper. I've been in hell. Do you know what it's like to have cerebral palsy, be labeled and judged your whole life? People act like they know you or that they care, but often they don't. People love it when you talk about God and Jesus Christ and your disability and how you inspire them. But I don't talk about God and Jesus like many people do. I feel that's used to manipulate others. Politicians and our media and many churches are in it for the money. Now I would have loved to be a millionaire. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't want to go making money that way. That's just the way it was for me. And to many people, money is God in this life. Money would have made my life a lot easier, but don't get me wrong, I'm no saint either. So don't go pinning that label on me either. People like to be entertained or a good show. They like it when you go to church and you listen to someone perform on stage. I've done it myself. People like politics to fight for a cause and justice, whatever justice is. Sometimes it's not always easy to define justice, or a lot of times justice is just an illusion. We can't always believe what we hear or see on TV as the truth. A lot of times justice just comes down to an individual's perception. When I joined the Universal Unitarian Church about 10 years ago, I used to wonder what the minister would say about me if I died. Now I don't even care when I die of what others would say about me. All I care is maybe I touched and people knew that I loved them. But other than that, we should tell people when we're alive that we love them and care about them daily. Yeah, Copper, I don't feel bad about my past. Think about it. When in 1958, 1960, I was 5 and 7 years old and 60. I knew I was gay and attracted to people. I used to watch Dragnet and be attracted to Jack Webb when I was 7 years old, and I had a crush on Hugh Beaumont on Leave It to Beaver. But I couldn't tell anybody that. I didn't want to be picked on by kids when I started regular school in 7th grade. Yeah, so I had to act tough and swear and act hard. But I was afraid deep down of maybe being hurt because of the fact that I told others that I was gay. If I want anger and bitterness, Copper, all I have to do is turn on the TV and see politicians acting badly towards one another daily. I have forgiven Robot and others in the past that hurt me because it's pointless to carry anger Because when we die without money, without cars, without fame, without recognition. I don't have a problem when I die that people will eventually forget me. I don't have a problem with that at all. I realize that to be true. My ego is not that big. Oh, you're so one in a million, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's one in a million. Everybody suffers, and everybody's trying to sort this all out and do the best that they can. Well, truth isn't always easy to find, like I said, and sometimes it's just an illusion. And when I die, if God truly exists, He knows my truth, and that should all that matters to me. Sounds kind of selfish, but it should be all that matters to all of us as our individual truths, be you believe in God or not. Well, you know where I live, Copper. I'm out of here. If you want to talk to me, call me, or get in touch with my lawyer, better yet. I'm sick of this crap. I'm done talking.